For decades, Neanderthals were imagined as primitive cave dwellers, massive, brutal, and barely human. Movies and old illustrations often portrayed them as savage creatures wandering frozen landscapes with little intelligence or emotion. But modern science has completely changed that image. Today, researchers believe Neanderthals were highly intelligent humans who cared for their families, buried their dead, created tools, survived harsh Ice Age climates, and raised children much like we do today. And perhaps one of the most fascinating questions scientists have explored is surprisingly simple. How big were Neanderthal babies when they were born? Imagine a cold evening nearly 60,000 years ago, somewhere in Ice Age Europe. A Neanderthal mother carefully wraps her newborn baby in thick animal fur to protect it from the freezing temperatures. Although separated from us by tens of thousands of years, that infant may have looked far more familiar than most people imagine. The size of Neanderthal babies has become an important scientific mystery because it reveals clues about their growth, intelligence, survival, and even the evolution of humanity itself. Scientists have spent decades examining fossilized infant skeletons, ancient teeth, and preserved skull fragments to understand how these prehistoric humans began life. One of the biggest surprises discovered by researchers is that Neanderthal babies were not dramatically larger than modern human babies. Based on fossil evidence, scientists estimate that Neanderthal newborns typically weighed between 3 and 4 kilograms, or around 6.5 to 8.8 pounds. That is extremely similar to the size of many newborn babies today. Despite adult Neanderthals having stockier bodies, wider chests, and stronger muscles than modern humans, their infants were born at roughly comparable sizes. However, hidden beneath that similarity was something extraordinary. Neanderthal babies may have had slightly larger brains than modern human newborns. Adult Neanderthals possessed incredibly large brains, in some cases even larger than the average modern human brain. Scientists believe that this brain development began very early in life, meaning Neanderthal infants were born with skulls designed to support rapid neurological growth. This created one of the greatest biological challenges in human evolution. Larger brains require larger heads, but childbirth limits how large an infant can safely be. If the baby's head becomes too large, delivery becomes extremely dangerous for both mother and child. In modern humans, this is already a major challenge. Human childbirth is more difficult than in many other animals because our species evolved large brains while also walking upright, which narrowed the pelvis. Researchers studying Neanderthal female skeletons discovered that their pelvises were shaped differently from ours. Some scientists believe these wider pelvic structures may have helped Neanderthal mothers safely deliver babies with slightly larger skulls. Even so, childbirth in the Ice Age was likely terrifying and dangerous. There were no hospitals, no doctors, no medicine, and no surgery. Every surviving infant represented an incredible victory. To learn more about Neanderthal babies, scientists turned to one of the most unexpected sources of information: teeth. Fossilized teeth contain microscopic growth lines similar to the rings of a tree. These lines record how quickly a child developed during life. By studying these patterns, researchers can estimate how fast Neanderthal children grew compared to modern humans. For many years, scientists believed Neanderthal children matured much faster than human children today. Because Ice Age life was so harsh and dangerous, researchers assumed Neanderthals evolved shorter childhoods to reach adulthood quickly. In a brutal prehistoric world filled with predators, Freezing winters, injuries, and limited food, rapid growth would seem like an advantage. But newer discoveries have challenged this idea. Some studies now suggest Neanderthal childhood development may actually have been surprisingly similar to our own. Their infants likely required long-term parental care, emotional bonding, teaching, and protection for many years. This changes how we understand Neanderthal society. It suggests families were deeply connected and children were carefully raised within supportive social groups. Think about the challenges a Neanderthal baby faced from the moment it was born. The world around it was deadly. Temperatures in Ice Age Europe could plunge far below freezing. Massive predators like cave lions, wolves, and hyenas roamed the landscape. Food shortages were common. Yet Neanderthals survived for hundreds of thousands of years across Europe and Western Asia. The survival of each child depended not only on parents, but likely on the cooperation of the entire group. Scientists believe Neanderthal mothers breastfed their infants for long periods, possibly for more than a year. Chemical analysis of fossilized bones suggests babies relied heavily on their mother's milk during early life. Breastfeeding would have provided essential nutrients and immune protection in a dangerous environment where disease and starvation constantly threatened survival. Another fascinating discovery came from advanced CT scans of Neanderthal skulls. By digitally reconstructing fossilized infant remains, scientists found that Neanderthal babies were born with brain structures somewhat similar to modern human infants. But as they grew, their brains developed differently. Modern human brains become more rounded during infancy, especially in areas linked to social interaction and complex communication. Neanderthal brains, while extremely large, developed into slightly longer shapes toward the back of the skull. Researchers still debate what these differences meant. Some believe Neanderthals may have relied more heavily on visual processing and physical coordination, while modern humans evolved stronger social networking and symbolic thinking abilities. But there is no doubt Neanderthals were highly intelligent. They created sophisticated stone tools, hunted large animals in organized groups, controlled fire, and adapted to harsh environments for hundreds of thousands of years. And all of that intelligence began in infancy. Imagine a Neanderthal child growing up inside a cold, prehistoric world. By watching adults, the child would slowly learn survival skills essential for life. They had to understand animal behavior, seasonal migration, weather patterns, fire-making, tool crafting, and hunting techniques. Even simple mistakes could become deadly. Childhood was not just a period of growth, it was survival training. Some of the strongest evidence for emotional care among Neanderthals comes from burial sites containing children and infants. Archaeologists have discovered carefully buried Neanderthal children in caves dating back tens of thousands of years. In several cases, the bodies appear intentionally placed, suggesting mourning rituals and emotional attachment. These discoveries reveal something deeply human. Neanderthal parents grieved the loss of their children. One famous discovery involved the remains of a Neanderthal child buried more than 40,000 years ago. The careful positioning of the body suggests the group intentionally honored the child after death. This challenges the old stereotype that Neanderthals lacked emotion or compassion. Instead, it paints a picture of families bonded by love, grief, and social connection. The size of Neanderthal babies also helps scientists understand why Neanderthals eventually disappeared. Around 40,000 years ago, Neanderthal populations began declining before eventually vanishing from the fossil record. researchers continue debating the exact cause. Climate change, competition with modern humans, disease, and shrinking populations may all have contributed. But infant survival may have played a critical role. In small populations, even a slight decrease in successful births can become catastrophic over thousands of years. If harsh climates, limited food, or dangerous childbirth reduced the number of surviving infants, entire communities could slowly disappear. Yet Neanderthals are not truly gone. Modern genetic research has revealed that many people alive today still carry Neanderthal DNA. Today, traces of Neanderthal genes still exist in millions of people around the world. This means that when scientists study Neanderthal babies, they are not examining some completely separate species. They are studying ancient relatives connected to us through evolution and shared ancestry. That tiny newborn wrapped in fur beside an Ice Age fire was part of the same human journey that eventually led to modern civilization, cities, technology, and the world we know today.